Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place where we take your sources and really try to pull out the key bits of knowledge and insight.
Mm-hmm.
And today, wow, we're going on a pretty radical journey, I have to say. We're looking at a really unique take on history from this source, the One World Tartarians, zlibrary.pdf.
Yeah. And our mission for this deep dive, just to be clear, is really exploring the claims within this specific source. It talks about this hidden, advanced global civilization called Tartaria and how it was supposedly erased.
Yeah.
And the source itself actually warns readers, so we want to echo that.
Yeah.
Our goal is to understand what it's claiming. We really want you to use your own discernment here. We're not endorsing these views as fact.
Absolutely. As we unpack this stuff, just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
We're here to understand the claims, encourage your critical thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is, well, it's a unique interpretation.
Definitely unique.
We're going to look at everything from, like, rewritten timelines, hidden tech, alleged global conspiracies. It's going to be an exploration of how history could be seen, maybe, through a very different lens.
A very different lens.
Let's get started.
Okay.
Let's unpack this. First up is what the source calls the new chronology, which is basically a radical rewrite of the historical timeline we all know. The document talks a lot about Anatoly Fomenko.
Right, the mathematician.
Yeah, from Moscow State University.
Yeah.
It highlights his new concept of chronology. Apparently, he used mathematical statistics, computer calculations, applied them to historical texts.
And the source makes a point of his credentials, Russian Academy of Sciences, Doctor of Physics, and Mathematics. So they establish him as a serious academic figure first.
Right. To lend weight to the claims, presumably.
Exactly. And Fomenko's core assertion, at least according to this source, is pretty startling. It's that modern written history only reliably goes back to about 1200 AD.
Only 1200 AD.
Yeah. And this new chronology, as they call it, it basically challenges all the traditional dating methods we use. Things like archaeology, dendrochronology.
Earrings, right.
Tree rings, yeah. Paleography, numismatics, carbon dating. It claims these are either just plain wrong or they depend on a conventional timeline that was, and this is the key word, manufactured.
Manufactured. Okay. And the source explains this by saying, like, different accounts of the same event got assigned different dates and places.
That's the idea, creating what it calls phantom copies.
Phantom copies.
Yeah, which were then supposedly misdated by centuries, maybe even millennia.
Wow.
And it makes this really bold claim. There is not a single document in existence that can be reliably dated earlier than the 11th century.
That just takes a sledgehammer to everything, doesn't it?
Pretty much the foundation of recorded history, yeah. And if you connect that to the bigger picture the source is painting,
Okay.
it claims this conventional timeline we accept was largely made up, fabricated by people like Joseph Justus Scaliger back in 1583. And this Jesuit guy, Dionysius Batavius, a bit later, like 1627 to 1632.
And how did they supposedly fake it?
Well, the source alleges their timelines often had these repeating sequences of dates, and the shifts between them were multiples of major Kabbalistic numbers, like 333 and 360.
Huh. Like hidden signatures or something?
Sort of, yeah. That's the implication, numerical signatures left by the fabricators.
It gives examples of this redating I saw. It says, what, ancient Rome, Greece, Egypt. Their histories were actually written during the Renaissance.
That's what it claims. And it goes even further. The Old Testament, a retelling of events from the 14th to 16th centuries AD.
Seriously?
And the New Testament, even more specific, 1153 to 1186 AD.
Wow. Okay, so then who is Jesus, according to this?
The source suggests the most likely historical prototype was a Byzantine emperor, Andronicus Komnenos, lived 1152 to 1185 AD.
So fitting that timeline, does the source give any reason why someone would do this? Like, what's the motive for faking all of history?
It doesn't really spell out the motive clearly at this point in the text. It sort of hints at a later New World Order wanting to control the narrative, erase something else.
Which we'll get to later, I guess.
Exactly. Right now, it's more focused on the how. Like, it points to astronomical data, Ptolemy's Almagest Egyptian horoscopes, and claims they actually suggest much later dates of compilation, like 9th to 17th centuries AD, not ancient times.
Okay.
It even says ancient Roman and Greek statues are probably fakes made in the Renaissance.
So nothing is safe. What about, like, non-Western history? Does it touch on that?
It does. It takes on Chinese history pretty directly, claims it's ancient astronomy stuff, the observatories. They didn't appear before the 19th century.
The 1800s.
Yeah. And maybe even crazier, it claims early Chinese history, like up to the 15th century. Isn't Chinese history at all?
What is it then?
It's European history, supposedly brought to China by Hordian conquerors.
Hordian conquerors, okay.
So the takeaway from this whole section is the timeline you think you know. According to this source, it's recent, manipulated, and designed to hide something else.
Right, and if that whole rewritten timeline sounds audacious, well, you said hold on to your seats, right? Because next, the source dives into what was supposedly hidden by all this.
Exactly. This high-tech global civilization it calls Tartaria.
Great Tartaria. Describe that a bit. What does this source say it was?
It's described as a highly advanced civilization, one that dominated technologies more advanced than the present ones.
More advanced than now.
That's the claim. And that it was disappeared from our history books less than a century ago.
Okay, so recently erased. What was its identity? Where was it?
The source claims it was huge. The largest empire maybe ever. Started in northern Asia, but covered the entire northern hemisphere. Asia, Africa, Europe, Oceania, the Americas. All of it.
Wow. And who are the people?
It calls them Tartarians, descendants of Hyperborea.
Yeah.
You know, the mythical northern land.
The cradle of civilization in this context.
Right. And they supposedly shared advanced tech, promoted interracial alliances. The source even suggests DNA Tartarian is in all peoples from Earth.
So a common ancestor idea. What about, say, Native Americans?
Claims they were Mongolian descendants of Tartary, and also refers to Black Moors, likely Islamic, as part of this Tartarian sphere.
Okay, so a vast interconnected world. Now, the tech, you said more advanced than ours. What kind of tech are we talking about?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. It talks about geopolymer concrete.
Geopolymer. Like not Portland cement.
Right, a concrete that supposedly grew stronger over time, enabling incredible buildings, maybe?
Okay, what else?
Gigantic iron and glass structures with big domes, metal needles on top, and these were linked to Mercury, somehow distributing free atmospheric energy.
Free energy, like electricity from the air for everyone.
That seems to be the idea. Ambient atmospheric electricity, channeled and used publicly. It mentions wireless technology and weather modification in the 19th century.
Weather modification, too.
Uh-huh. Harvesting lightning, magnetricity through copper domes. It even calls skyscrapers and pyramids energy harvesters.
That sounds like science fiction almost.
It's definitely pushing boundaries. The architectural claims are wild, too. It talks about star forts, you know, those bastion forts with the pointy bits.
Yeah, I've seen pictures.
Claims they weren't just forts. They were vibrational frequency ecosystems.
Okay. Meaning what?
Designed for joy, harmony, coordinating global systems for water, gas, energy, food, transport.
Like a global infrastructure network based on vibrations?
Sort of, yeah. And it points to specific famous places. The Prambanan temples in Indonesia, the Taj Mahal, Hagia Sophia, London's Crystal Palace, even Wolsey Hall at Yale University.
What about them?
Claims they were all originally production plants and distribution of atmospheric energy.
Wow.
And it doesn't stop there. Obelisks, churches, mosques, cathedrals. According to the source, these were all extremely old Tartarian power plants.
Power plants. Okay. Given these pretty incredible claims, like free energy, wireless heating, how does the source explain why none of this exists now? Or why we don't know about it? What supposedly happened to it all?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the source does get into that, the whole destruction narrative. But just before we go there, it piles on even more advanced systems.
Oh, there's more?
Oh, yeah. Underground travel via pneumatic tubes. It gives Washington, D.C.'s Moleway as an example.
Pneumatic tubes. Like for mail, but for people.
Seems like it. It also mentions Vimana flying machines borrowing from ancient Indian texts.
Right, the flying craft myths.
And California airships of 1852, compressed air trains cars, even wirelessly heating castles, cathedrals, and estates.
Wirelessly heating castles.
It paints this picture of Tartaria being deeply connected with, like, Earth's natural energies, a symbiotic thing we've totally lost.
Fascinating. And culturally, did it say anything about that?
Briefly. Touches on the possibility of a one common language, the existence of giants among us.
Giants, okay.
And these healing centers, it names Tiergarten in Germany as one, places where atmospheric energy and subtle frequencies supposedly healed people, created harmony.
Healing with frequencies.
Yeah, it mentions the healing resonance of churches using cymatics.
Cymatics.
Yeah.
It's making sound visible, right? Patterns in sand.
Exactly, and pipe organs, claiming they created healing patterns inside people using specific frequencies to, like, restore the body's natural harmony.
Okay, so we've got this image. A global super advanced, harmonious civilization powered by free energy, potentially with giants and a single language, using sound and frequency to heal.
That's the picture the source paints, yeah.
So, the obvious next question, if it was so great, what happened? Where did it go?
Right, and that brings us to the next major section in the source, what it calls the Great Reset and the destruction of Tartaria.
The Great Reset. When did this supposedly happen?
The source claims Tartaria was disappeared and destroyed surprisingly recently, less than 150 years ago.
Wait, 150, so like late 1800s, early 1900s?
Pretty much. It specifies between the mid-1800s until the 1930s, and it pinpoints a key event, or a series of events, it calls the Great Reset of 1811-1812.
1811-1812. How was it destroyed? What methods does the source claim were used?
It lists several things. Mud floods.
Mud floods.
Yeah, and liquefaction events, where the ground basically turns to liquid temporarily.
Okay.
Also, earthquakes. It specifically highlights the New Madrid earthquakes of 1811-1812, describes them as like 2,000 earthquakes over months.
2000.
Yeah, felt apparently as far away as Canada and the East Coast. It even claims they caused the Mississippi River to run backward.
Mississippi ran backward.
That's the claim. It also mentions volcanoes and weather manipulation using directed energy devices, DWs.
Directed energy weapons. Like space lasers or something.
The source implies tools that could target and destroy things with focused energy.
Yeah.
Structures, maybe even people.
And what's the evidence for this stuff, according to the source? For the mud floods, for instance?
It points to things like, you know how sometimes in old buildings, the ground floor windows are half buried?
Yeah, you see that sometimes. Basements that look like first floors.
Right. It asks why all the half-floor first floors, suggesting they were buried by mud floods. It also points to sunken cities, like civilizations 200 feet below the sea, Cleopatra's Palace off Alexandria, or China's Lion City in Qingdao Lake.
Okay, so buried architecture. What about the DWs?
Well, the source talks about technological genocide, claiming these DWs were used to vaporize buildings and people.
Genocide.
Yeah. It points to things like the massive bone deposits under cities, the catacombs in Paris, or the Monastery of San Francisco catacombs in Lima, Peru. It suggests these aren't just old cemeteries, they're buried boneyards from mass exterminations linked to Tartaria's destruction.
That's incredibly dark.
It is. And it continues with the great fires in history.
Like London, 1666. Chicago, San Francisco, 1906.
Exactly. London, New York, twice. San Francisco, Moscow, 1812, even Dresden in 1945. The source claims these weren't natural or accidental fires.
So what caused them?
It suggests advanced technologies, maybe DWs again, flipping electrified buildings using highly focused laser-directed energy frequencies.
Flipping buildings.
That's the term used. And it questions where all the rubble went after these huge fires and also after the World Fairs, implying a massive, suspicious cleanup operation.
Removing the evidence of.
Yeah.
Tartarian structures being destroyed.
That seems to be the implication. And this leads into some really sensitive territory in the source.
Okay.
It discusses insane asylums of the 19th century. Gives examples like Stockton State, Agnews, Napa State in California.
Right, those imposing old asylum buildings.
The source claims these were originally Tartarian buildings, repurposed.
Purpose for what?
To imprison and kill adult Tartars after separating them from their children.
Wait, separating them from their kids? What happened to the children?
Allegedly sold off for slave labor on what it calls foundling trains. You know, the orphan trains that moved kids across the U.S.
Oh my God, that's horrifying.
It's a deeply disturbing claim. And the source notes that many of these asylum sites had crematories and large graveyards.
Implying mass murder and disposal on site.
That's the heavy implication, yes. And it doesn't stop there. It talks about an American Holocaust.
An American Holocaust.
Against who? Against the native black Moor population, as the source terms it, claiming it was the largest genocide in history with almost 100 million deaths, and not primarily from disease.
100 million? Where does that number come from?
The source asserts it, contrasting it with standard historical accounts, and it ties this into the transatlantic slave trade.
How so?
It calls the standard narrative of the slave trade a huge NWO lie.
A lie, meaning?
Claiming that Americans were black people and they were not brought here on ships, but rather they were the descendants of the Tartarian Moors already here and were enslaved right here on their own lands.
So a complete inversion of the established history of slavery in America.
A complete inversion. The core idea running through this whole disruption section is deliberate, violent, orchestrated erasure, destroying the buildings, the people, and any trace they ever existed.
Right. So if Tartaria was destroyed and erased, who did it? And why? That motive question again.
Exactly. And that's where the source introduces the alleged culprit, the New World Order, or NWO.
The NWO. Okay. Common conspiracy theory trope, but how does the source define it?
It claims this NWO is the force that eliminated the history of the Old World Order, OWO, Tartarians, and it mentions they use a one symbol, like a one-eyed man symbol.
Okay. Where did this NWO come from, according to the source?
It talks about a trilateral New World Order founding involving the Vatican, the City of London, the Financial District, and Washington, D.C.
The 3 city-states, yeah. That's a known theory element.
Right. It claims the United States itself is actually a federal corporation that serves the Grand Lodge of England.
A corporation.
Yeah. And it brings in names like the Rothschilds and also mentions Akhenashi Jewish people, a term the source uses, claiming they were conscripted by the Vatican somehow.
Okay, so a complex web of power involving finance, religion, and government.
And espionage, too. It claims the Vatican runs a global spy agency called The Entity.
The Entity.
Seriously.
That's the name given. And claims it owns and controls all major spy agencies, CIA, NSA, MI6, Mossad, all of them.
Wow. That's quite a claim about global intelligence. It also mentions blue bloods.
Blue bloods, like royalty.
Sort of. It defines them as people with higher copper content in their blood. Includes all U.S. presidents, King Charles II, even the lineage of Vlad the Impaler, all part of this NWO structure, apparently.
Okay, so this NWO destroys Tartaria. How do they control history afterwards? How do they manage the cover-up?
The source points to a few things. One is called digitalization, the modern-day burning of Alexandria.
Referencing the ancient library burning. What's the modern equivalent?
Google's book scanning project, Project Ocean.
Right, Google Books.
The source claims the purpose was to scan millions of books so they could then effectively alter and control any digitalized books and images. Basically, rewrite history digitally.
Control the digital record.
Defacing statues, like knocking the nose off the Sphinx, or the Romanovs supposedly defacing earlier monarchs' images. Erasing physical legacies.
Okay. It also mentions horse and buggy lies. What's that about?
That seems to refer to the idea that conventional history tells us massive, intricate structures were built using only basic tools like horses and buggies.
Right, questioning the feasibility of official construction narratives.
Exactly. And it brings up the Great Wall of China again.
What about it this time?
Claims it's not ancient at all, built in the 16th, 17th centuries, as a border between China and Mongol Tartary, which it identifies as Russia.
So redefining the purpose and age of major landmarks.
And then there's the World Fairs, Chicago, 1893, St. Louis, 1904, San Francisco, 1915.
Those huge exhibitions showcasing new technology.
Right. But the source flips the script. It says, yeah, they showed off stuff like Tesla's AC power, wireless telephony, early cars. But these weren't new discoveries.
Let me guess, they were old Tartarian knowledge.
Bingo. Old Tartary tech, supposedly presented as new, then quickly destroyed or hidden again after the fair. Why? To reintroduce old technology and make handsome profits later, control the rollout.
So the fairs were a kind of technological theater, and maybe disposal sites for old Tartarian buildings presented as temporary?
That's the strong suggestion. It also mentions weird exhibits, like infant incubators being displayed as sideshows until the 1940s. Just odd juxtaposition.
Okay, that's a lot of different elements of deception. Is there like a unifying narrative the source uses?
It actually offers one, and there may be the most unique interpretation in the whole document. It reads The Wizard of Oz as an allegory for the NWO.
The Wizard of Oz. Really?
Okay, the yellow brick road represents the gold bar road, America's gold being stolen. The Tin Man, he's the legal straw man.
Yeah.
The hollow corporate identity tied to the IRS. The Cowardly Lion, that's the American people having lost their courage. The Emerald City, that's Washington, D.C. And the emerald is green, non-Federal Reserve notes, fiat currency.
Okay, I can kind of see the symbolism there. What about the witch?
The Wicked Witch of the West embodies the Knights Templar of Freemasonry and modern banking.
Wow. And the wizard himself.
Represents the deceptive power behind it all. Even the flying monkeys get an interpretation.
No way, what are they?
Tartarian griffins, supposedly used by the NWO to maintain the deception.
That is a very detailed, allegorical reading.
Isn't it? And it really encapsulates the source's overall view. A vast, multi-layered conspiracy where almost everything is manipulated or fabricated by this NWO.
So things like the moon landing, the Titanic sinking, the Fed's creation.
All part of it according to the source. WMDs in Iraq, climate change narratives, figures like Einstein, even Tesla either faked, manipulated, or their true purpose hidden by these parasites and gray men, as the source sometimes calls them.
Yes, wow, the sheer scope of the conspiracy presented here is enormous.
It connects almost every major historical event and mystery into this one narrative framework.
What a deep dive this has been. We've really journeyed through a powerful and definitely provocative reimagining of global history presented in this source. From this idea of an advanced, free-energy Tartarian civilization to its alleged systematic destruction and total historical erasure by a hidden New World Order.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in, and it really does raise an important question, doesn't it?
Which is?
Well, it's a big if, but if, as the source suggests, the history you've been taught is some kind of carefully constructed soap opera fraud,
Yeah.
how might even just understanding these kinds of alternative narratives change your perspective, on truth, on power, on the stories that shape our world?
That's a good question. What might still be hidden right there in plain sight if you just look differently?
Exactly. What might you start noticing? It definitely leaves you wondering.
Well, thank you for joining us on this exploration. It was certainly eye-opening.
It always is with sources like these.
Keep asking questions, everyone. Keep digging. Keep thinking critically. Your journey of discovery, as they say, is really just beginning.